I met this individual that was quickly rising in the ranks of notoriety. He was in commercial real estate and he was doing these big things. He will reach out to me one day and he's like, I'm looking for my first hire. You want to come work for me? Within about 6 weeks, I realized how much fraud this guy was committing. It was just a complete fleece factory. They took advantage of about 60 other investors. I was considering being an LP myself. And so I was looking for resources to get educated. And I was like, okay, where is a central location that had all these GPs in one place that I can compare them? That didn't exist. What about the opportunities they're raising for, like the assets? Where do those exist? That didn't exist anymore.
Dude, it's such a crazy thing.
It is so true.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, let me read reviews. Like where are people sharing experiences? Couldn't find them anywhere except like communities I had to pay for that had limited amount of members in them. And so all of those things, the experience at Commercial Real Estate Investor and then selling a lead gen in the industry led to Invest Clearly.
How do you guys make money? So what's your business plan?
I'll start by telling you how we don't make money because that's almost more important than how we do make money.
Welcome to another episode of the CashFlow Quest. We have a great guest with us today, and we're excited because it's very relevant to the syndication space and raising equity for real estate deals.
So today we're happy to have Pat Zarella. He started Invest Clearly. So thank you for being here today. We're excited to kind of dive into what that is and chat with you a little bit. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Funny enough, the timing is really perfect. You're going to love this. We had our Christmas party last Thursday, and we had this couple come up to us. That's a client and an investor in some deals with us now. And they just had this look on their face. You know, that was really, I'm like, uh-oh, what's going on? And long story short, somebody had planted seeds with them. And it was like, I think it was just one person, but I'm not sure exactly all the context. That like, oh, you better look into it. This sounds like a Ponzi scheme. And so it was this moment where I'm like, well, guys, like, you know, we've gone through this. I mean, we've had them involved with us for probably 2 years or so. And then they were starting to ask for financials and our team was busy. So a couple of weeks had gone by and financials were in the queue. But like, you know, the team's kind of putting them together on behalf of this client. Anyways, they were scared that like we were just taking investor money and then like paying everybody distributions out of new pots of money, like an old school Ponzi scheme.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like,
yeah, that's terrible.
We'll hands down give you a rent roll, you know, financials, a balance sheet. Like it's just, we've been busy. It's end of the year wrap up for us. And so the next day, me and the guys sent it over to them and they're like, okay, thank you so much. And they felt good. We sent them the cost seg study. We sent them everything. I mean, it's like if you do any research at all, our name is all over the actual real estate, you know.
Right.
But it's just like a moment that we had. So there needs to be some clarity around who syndicators are, what do they do, what do they stand for, how do you rate them? So anyways,
and verify them that they are legit and an actual business. You know, like I noticed you have like verified check marks, similar to like social media platforms and stuff on your Clearly Invest.
Invest Clearly.
Invest Clearly. Yeah.
Thank God he wore the hat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yes, that's right.
So I'm hoping to tee you up here because it seems like it's very relevant to all things that we touch on the investor interface.
Yeah. So tell us how you got started and how you even got into, you know, doing Invest Clearly.
Yeah, for sure. It's the background is sort of my favorite story to tell because it's almost one of those all roads led here type of story. And so I was in corporate America. I was a sales guy. I worked for a company that provided like objective and advisory services to startup companies. And one of their subsidiaries was a software review platform. And so chief information officers that would be making big investment decisions around technology would go and read reviews left by other CIOs. And the company itself used to have to sit in between the buyers and sellers of technology. And the foundation of it was to be objective, though, right? It was to provide information, but be neutral in their advisory services. And so when I was there, I started, I went down the real estate interest path, right? Got down the Rich Dad Poor Dad, started listening to the podcast, started doing the prospecting, got into small multifamily active real estate for myself. And then during that time, I started joining like communities, right? Mastermind groups, things like that. And I met this individual that was quickly rising in the ranks of notoriety in communities on the Bigger Pockets. He was the number one downloaded episode of Bigger Pockets at the time. And he was in commercial real estate and he was doing these big things. And so I kind of connected with him, built a relationship with him. started doing some like prospecting from afar while I was at my job, and really thought like, hey, this is a guy who can mentor me, right? This is sort of my ticket to moving from small multifamily up into commercial. And he will reach out to me one day and he's like, I'm looking for my first hire, right? Do you want to come work for me? So I was like, perfect. I left my job of 5 or 6 years. I ended up going long distance with my fiance, took a 75% pay cut. Within about 6 weeks, I realized how much fraud this guy was committing. It was just a complete fleece factory. And after about 90 days, I left. I went back home, and I was able to tell my inner circle to, I guess, keep your distance. But I always say, like, if there was a large platform like Invest Clearly, it probably could have prevented a lot of, disasters, because he took advantage of about 60 other investors. And so on my way back, I started sales consulting. That was my background. That's what I started doing. I started like a small agency, and I was working with an accredited investor lead gen company as one of my clients. And so I would be speaking with GPs all day long, probably 10 people within the same asset class within a week. And I was having a really difficult time differentiating between any of them. At the same time, I was talking to some that had mastermind groups and courses that were outperforming their actual assets, but they were coaching on real estate. And so I started to see some parallels in certain areas, as well as the rise of influencer marketing rather than operation stuff. And so during this time, I was considering being an LP myself. And so I was looking for resources to get educated. And I was like, okay, where is a central location that had all of these GPs in one place that I can compare them? That didn't exist. And I was like, all right, well, what about the opportunities they're raising for, like the assets? Where do those exist? That didn't exist anywhere.
Dude,
I was like, all right,
it is so true.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, let me read reviews. Like where are people sharing experiences? Couldn't find them anywhere except like communities I had to pay for that had limited amount of members in them. And then lastly, I was like, all right, well, let me start by just like education. Like, what do I ask these guys? And then I found that every single article of how to do due diligence was written by a GP. So I was like, okay, this is what you ask me when evaluating me. I was like, it's not really objective. And so all of those things, like the experience at the company was Gartner, the commercial real estate investor, and then selling a lead gen in the industry led to Invest Clearly.
Wow, it's so cool. And it's such a gap because you can review everything else, right? Like businesses, food, like so many different things. Why wouldn't this be able, why wouldn't there be reviews on this type of company or, capital?
When there's a serious amount of capital allocated in this way too.
Yeah.
So like if there's gonna be review sites for what car to buy, top 10, there's like a bazillion of those websites.
There's so many.
And that's like you're more of a consumer side versus like
where to put your money.
Investments in, like, I'm sure, is there reviews for like other third party like financial, just wealth managers and stuff like that? Is there anything for that too?
Not really, besides the TripAdvisor. I'm sorry, the Trust Pilots out there.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting about that question is a lot of these financial firms or they'll
advisors.
They'll have like internal databases of reviews on other like financials. So like we've talked to we had a financial advisor that I would talk to, and he's like, hey, look, this actually exists internally for us to check, when someone wants to work with someone out of market to see if they're a good fund manager or something like that, but nothing really public. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm tracking. We bank with now JP Morgan Private Bank because of the First Republic dynamic. They basically acquired First Republic. And what he was telling me is the same thing. I have access to a lot of like online different pitch books and different things. Like, we have like this company we subscribe to where they bring in all the OMs from different funds and different investment, vehicles in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed pretty interesting, but I've never heard of that. And it sounds like it's expensive to buy and be a part of that. So it's really geared for the financial advisors as a resource versus regular people. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the institutions, like they have those large, like the pitch books out there, the crunch bases that are like data aggregators at like who's doing what, where. But some of them are, PitchBook is pretty expensive for the average person. It's up there. And again, and I think the hard thing that it doesn't solve for that we're trying to solve for is you can gather all of this data on financials, right? What is missing is like the qualitative aspect of it is like between the marketed returns, what is the investor actually experiencing? because it's you know, I always tell this story when I was doing what we call like customer development interviews for Invest Clearly when we first got started. Like, what should we build? Would you use it? Things like that. One of the stories I heard from someone is he's like, I got a 30% return with this GP in 12 months, but I won't invest with them again. And I was like, all right, well, what was going on? It's like communication was terrible. The deal almost failed. They wrote up the market, and then a cash buyer came in and kind of saved him at the last minute. But what would be marketed, and would it be true? It's a 30% return. And so what we're trying to almost complement that is like, sure, like you can gather and do background checks and audit financials and gather all these documents, but like, what is the experience of the investor along the way that isn't necessarily publicly available? And that's what we're trying to bring to the forefront. And I'm rambling now, but like also on the good and the bad, right? Is like I always tell people like we didn't build this to be the GP Reaper. One of the biggest things we saw when we were building this was a lot of people have been doing this for a long time that flew under the radar because they didn't have massive marketing budgets. And so what we're trying to do as well is like, how do we also bring the visibility to like those experiences based on investor voices versus how much can you spend to get noticed? Does that make sense?
Yeah, amen. Well, so you're kind of perfect for us in a way too, because another conversation we were having the other day was that it ends up we're a 506B, so we can't spend marketing dollars in to raise money. We have to do it in other formats like this, or just be active online and you know on our website, SEO, all those things, just to attract people when they type in mobile home park investing or whatever. But a lot of people are like, well, gosh, like, how do you know that that's real? And that they're actually buying those properties when you're standing at like, oh, you know, a friend of a friend introduces another friend. And it's like, have you met the Comfort Capital guys, Blake and Jen? And they're like, no, but like, what? I don't know what they're doing. It just seems a little fishy. I don't know who they are. And so we'd love to have a place where we can then like have investor testimonials and like kind of seek that out, almost like how you would, if you were like a restaurant, you'd seek out good TripAdvisor reviews or good Yelp reviews. Yeah. Like we don't have any place to do that.
Which is exactly what Invest Clearly is. You know, is what other information can they find on these companies on your site? And how do you verify them? Like, is there a process behind that?
Yep. Yeah. Great question. So what we've built out on the actual profile is the whole purpose of it is it's a directory as well as a review site. And so the goal for the LP is to go in here and you fill out investment preferences. Like, what are you looking for in a GP or what they're raising for? And that could be asset class, locations in which they buy assets, targeted returns, things like that. And so they can go in, plug in these investment preferences, and then find a short list of GPs that match those investment preferences. And so the goal that was because we found the journey of the LP as like hey, I know this person through recommendations and they have to wait till they find a deal and things like that. And this actually allows them to control like who they're seeing when, again, versus waiting or having to sign up for a billion email lists. And then from there, to the verification side of things. So before I get into that, we list every GP we find, no matter what. So the mission on here is like every GP that's ever existed, whether they know us, like about us, don't like us, you know, as if we can find them publicly, we add them. And then the LPs, like I said, that provide proof that they've invested with the GPs can write reviews on them. And so what that looks like is part of the review creation workflow is the first step, they choose the GP. Second step, they write the review. And then the third step, they have to upload some form of proof that they've actually invested with the GP before it gets published. And then it goes to our team for like moderation. And so for an example of that, the most common one we get is people logged into their portal, like a screenshot of that or like a statement. And it's really anything that I can see and say, hey, you wouldn't have this if you weren't an investor. Yeah. And then I'll either publish it or I'll reject it if the documents are not quite up to snuff or something is weird or it needs to be edited. I'm not edited, but like, you know, for example, some people will take screenshots with their name cut off and my mind goes right to, okay, how could this be falsified? Right? Did someone send you this? You know, it's never really the case. Not yet. I'm sure it may be someday, but I'll always think like, okay, I can't see your name. I can't prove this is yours. I need you to just zoom out a little bit so I can see your name in there. The name has to match their profile, and then it goes from there.
And this is just internal for you. So it's not like they're going to share something with you, so you approve it, but then it's not getting posted.
No. Yeah.
No, definitely not. So the LP can the way the reviews are displayed. So none of that goes anywhere. That stays us in a secured database, things like that.
Right.
And then the actual reviews, the LPs have the ability to have their name public as first name, last initial, or verified investor. It's all verified the same way. They just choose to display their name as anonymous for whatever reason they want.
Yeah, for privacy reasons and whatnot. So they can remain anonymous if they want to. Yeah. And still do the review.
We love the idea because I'm starting as we're now starting to kind of go exponential in our we have like 400 active investors.
Yeah.
And so now it's like referral, like it's growing fast, especially now we have a whole, our asset class is amazing for depreciation. So it's a lot of like real estate professionals and groups and networking groups that are kind of triangulating that we're a great depreciation piece, but also as an investment, mid to upper teens on overall returns. And so it's like you not only get the tax benefit year one, but you get the returns. So people are like, we're getting inbounds now for the first time, literally ever.
Well, and as we continue to, as companies like us and ourselves included, we're continuing to market in a sense of like, we're just putting informational content out there for people to view and kind of share with other people. And so from that, we're also getting inbounds to where then we can start a relationship with these people. But then, sometimes it's just it's a stranger who's coming in cold and doesn't know us from Adam. And so it's helpful to have something online like this to help them verify it if they don't have like a friend or a friend of a friend who knows us who has invested with us personally. So I love this because it, like we were saying, there's so many other avenues online to review places. So I think it's great. And the more marketing we do with it's not in a sense marketing because we technically can't market for people, but pushing information out causes people to have interest to be like, I want to learn more there. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we help the clientele? Let's just say like we're not the GP and we're just wanting to be consumers. What's the best way for consumers to go through the process for them to know, hey, how do I make sure that these people are legit and real and actually do deals and have a track record, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So the site is completely free to use for anyone to go in there and search, and we're not behind a paywall. You don't even need to sign up for it. So if someone is considering investing with someone else, just go on there, search for them, read the reviews. That is the best way to do it. And the biggest thing to remember is we're not here to be the only part of due diligence, right? There should be a lot before us and a lot after us, but it's just, trying to understand and validate what you're hearing and reading about, because, to piggyback on what you're saying, it's not just someone's coming in cold and they don't know, who, if we are who we say we are and do. There's also a differentiation aspect of it in terms of what is going on in the media, where hey, everyone in commercial real estate is going under and all of these other things. And it's almost okay, this is what's actually happening among our investors, right? And so, as a consumer, just hopping on there and reading reviews, if you want to do a couple different things, if you have a specific GP in mind, I want to search this one specific, see if there's reviews on them. Or if you are targeting a certain asset class, go in there, search by asset class, look at the GPs that are, have great reviews in there, and even the ones that don't have great reviews, and see why people are reviewing them negatively. Because what's really nice about this is we make a lot of comparisons about the kind of consumer goods that we're reviewing. Oftentimes those will be hyper emotional reviews and borderline ridiculous. A lot of these are really contextualized. If they're getting a 1-star review, they're saying why in there. It's lack of communication. It's this, it's that. So it'll really help with your evaluation of other GPs. It's hey, this is where more experienced LPs are dissatisfied. Let me apply what I've learned from this review and turn it into questions as I'm evaluating the next person. That's really how I think about things.
Yeah, I love that because you can learn a lot of, weak spots or things that people really are looking for in a customer service in a realm like this. And I do that with restaurants too, or, if I'm looking at reviews, I'll look at the 1 and 2 star, and sometimes they're just kind of well, that person, it was just kind of a situational bad experience for them, not necessarily.
It's a lot of noise.
So it's helpful because sometimes there's things that you can learn from and we could incorporate into like our customer service with our investors. And other times it's just kind of like, well, that company did their best in that situation. There was nothing you could do for that person. They just wanted to share that bad experience.
And this is going to be harder to get reviews on scale.
It is.
So like it's going to be more of a real story because like you're going to almost have to go out of their way to leave reviews.
Yeah. Well, and is there a way in your platform to where it's like censored in a way to where like if somebody leaves a review, does the GP have the opportunity to review it before it posts or does it just post?
It's a great question. So like our what I would say friction in all of this is the verification of the LP, right? Like we personally moderate every single one that's submitted to make sure they're an actual investor. So we're not getting fake reviewers and things like that, which people have tried. You know, there's been plenty that I've caught and stopped because they were an internal employee reviewing themselves anonymously. Wild, right? They're checking boxes that I'm not an internal employee and posting it. And so we've gotten those before. In terms of the reviews going up, the bad ones go up. You know what I mean? They go up and they stay, but the GPs do have the ability to respond to them.
Okay.
And that's the most important thing. And, you know, it's not like everyone doesn't love that answer. You know what I mean? Meaning like, hey, they don't come down. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be fair. And what's really interesting about that feature is that was requested more from LPs than GPs when we were building it. Is, of course, every GP wanted to respond to a review and contextualize it. And we think that it should be like that. But the LPs really wanted to see how people would respond to feedback. And so it's really, we encourage, hey, like respond to every review, good and bad, you know what I mean? And contextualize the situation if you feel like it doesn't actually represent the experience of investing with you.
I love that. It's raw. It's true. It's, you know, just clear for everybody, good or bad. It's just the truth. Yeah.
And we have an account.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah. We have 4 or 5 reviews, all 5-star.
Yeah. You guys have a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm sure Ben and Jonathan have been helping us just make sure we kind of put it in front of people. So yeah, wait, before I forget, what else, I feel like there's a lot of ignorance around what due diligence you can do if you're an LP. And so like the other day I had Adam, my neighbor buddy that he also invested. He said that his dad works for a bank. So they pulled our corporate credit.
Oh,
just like, you know, how they have internal systems and he was able just to see that we had company credit and our credit was good.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, was it good?
Yeah.
I don't even know what our company credit is.
Yeah.
You know? And so it was interesting to see how he went along through the process.
Okay.
But basically he verified our company was real.
Yep.
Verified that we were embedded in the company,
actually
like
owners.
from like the service, you know, the LLC,
like agent of
or
process,
agent of process and all that. But like, yeah, so it's like, it kind of opened up this can mentally for me. I was like, man, what should people do? Like I've never really looked at it from that perspective. I've always been in this GP seat.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think they should do as much as humanly possible. If I could give you the umbrella term, I tell people is that the due diligence process should start with the GP and then go to the asset level, right? Because I think LPs often think they're investing in real estate, where in my opinion, they're investing in a business backed by real estate, right? And so they're really investing in the ability to execute on the business plan. So my biggest recommendation is to get outside of the GP's like influence when you're evaluating them. Ask them a million questions, but also try to get feedback from people that, what I would say, like don't have the most to gain by your commitment, right? And one thing that I think people should do more often that they don't do is check their Form D filings, right? Like when you start talking to a GP, in order to be compliant, they have to register with the SEC before they raise. A lot of people don't do that. Like a lot of people aren't compliant in that. Even when we first got started with this platform, I could share the early days of it, but like, you know, they should make sure they're registered. And you can literally look that up on, you know, an Edgar filing, which not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Is that also for 506Bs?
Yeah, it's for both. Yeah.
It's Reg Ds, I believe, is what we do. Yep. We register with the SEC. It's called Reg D.
We do have to register that the same way.
Yeah. And so once you create the LLC, then you have the legal entity and the EIN to then register with a Reg D in the securities SEC. And so we do that. Yeah. So they would find that company name.
Yeah.
But then
We'll have a bunch of
it would have a bunch of them
Yeah.
if they searched them. And then our names, we have layers of protection, but like they would come to like your name and my name on the, articles of organization and the legal docs for that entity. Yeah, they'd find it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's something that I think would be cool. Maybe on your educational side, like that would be cool for you to say, hey, from your third party perspective, here's some high level government websites where you can type in names and figure out that they're real. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
It actually would be not a bad idea for us too, to kind of like, hey, if you're ever looking to do, GP due diligence, here's the top things that we would look for going into another investment vehicle similar to ourselves. It's kind of like a great, opportunity.
Well, and I would send them to Invest Clearly though. Here's a third party, like verification. It's like Yelp for us.
Totally.
And we could sort of kick it over to them because then I don't want to be like, here's the government websites, check us out. Now we could.
No,
there's nothing wrong with that.
One of those would be him, right? So like there's lots of like options.
It should be like the third party educator, not us training them how to go through it correctly.
Do due diligence on us. Here's what we'd recommend.
Yeah. No, it's a good idea. We actually have we have an educational part of our website, and we've always sort of tried to avoid just being the cookie cutter. Hey, here are the 10 questions to ask in due diligence. But I think what you just said is a very unknown thing. Like, hey, here's where you should check these things out versus here are just the 10 questions you ask a GP. So I'm definitely going to have our content person do something for that.
And like your example at the beginning of this conversation where the investors really didn't know what to look for, like that would be a great example of who it would help.
Well, like I'm the one chasing deals all the time. And like I've never really turned around and be like, here's all the main things I would do if I was checking out us. It's just a different angle, but it's valuable. Like that is something that I just can't believe it's not a bigger topic and made simpler. So I really am stoked for you to come up with this idea and run with it because it's really, really valuable, especially right now. There's a lot of insecurity in the realm of LPGP, in the realm of real estate, multifamily, you name it.
How many GPs do you have now? How big is Invest Clearly?
Yeah, so we've got about 1,450 listed on the site. And then about 160, what we call is like a claimed profile. That's where if someone sees their profile on the site, they can take administrative access for free. They pretty much say, hey, Pat, this is my company. Let me make it more robust and fill out some of the stuff you weren't able to find publicly. Yeah. And so, the way we got started with that list was breaking down those filings. And so we would go and we would break down those SEC filings, and everyone that had a registered 506C, we would put on there. Okay.
So you pulled all the 506Cs designation.
That's how we started.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's how we started. Yeah.
And so how do you come across us, or did we reach out?
I don't know how I came across you guys. I think you guys were working with maybe one of my partner, Joe, has another business called Scale IR, and he works for a company called GenRev. And I think he might have sent it to me, but so, too, we do also add 506B companies that focus on 506B as well. It's an interesting relationship with 506B companies. We actually went through like a Big Four legal audit with like a company that has 10 billion under management that only does 506B. Mm-hmm. And they put us through kind of like the ringer with their legal team to see if it would be compliant to work with us. And for 506B companies, it's almost an advantage because you're not actually soliciting investments on our site. So like you don't add your active deals or anything like that. You're getting reviews at the company level.
Yeah.
So you're marketing the business versus the opportunity. And like alternatively, you guys have a kind of a profile no matter what. And so it's a good way to kind of get the word out there and get noticed without violating that non-solicitation rule. Because it's the company level experience. So it's pretty cool.
And it's on your company and we're just listed. So I get it.
Exactly.
My last question is, how do we make more people aware of what you're doing?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for asking that. The biggest thing for us is it's interesting, right? Like this was our foundational year. When you think about the age of the company, we officially launched this in November of 24. November of 23. And then we spent like a year rebuilding it based on feedback because it was a disaster when we launched it. And then pretty much all of our traction and adoption happened within this year. And so the next year is going to be like our visibility multiplier, right? We want to shift from, we had really, really, really good traction and people were using us and finding us valuable in 25 to now we're a part of every single investment decision in 2026.
Okay.
And the only way we do that is more reviews. And the only way we get more reviews is if more people know about us. It's like what we're really asking people for is like, if you know LPs or GPs, just tell them about us, right? Because what we found out is we've really solidified the need and the desire to use it. And now it's just more, we need people to know about us. So that's our main goal moving forward.
Cool.
Awesome. Well,
how do you guys make money? So what's your business plan?
I'll start by telling you how we don't make money because that's almost more important than how we do make money. So we have nothing to do with the deals or the funds, right? Like they're listed on our site. We're not registered with any regulatory agency. You can't invest on the site. So like there's no connection to the actual raising on our site. And I bring that up because it's important to like our objectivity and like our neutrality and all of this. So LPs know that people don't have 5-star reviews because we're getting a piece of every dollar raised. It's not how it works. And so in addition, we don't sell LP leads. Like people aren't, signing up and we're selling contact information. So we're completely objective there. And so the way we make money is by what are called optional profile upgrades. And so I talked about like a claim profile that's free. Someone could come in and say, hey, this is my company. It allows them to, respond to reviews, use some of our free tools, our basic analytics, things like that. And then they have the ability to upgrade their profile. And we have 2 tiers of upgrades. One I call like the engagement tier. And then the other one I call like the visibility tier. And so the engagement tier is like more things on their profile. You can add your calendar to it. You can have downloadable docs on it. You can put your webinar replays like videos on there. You have some branding tools. You have more advanced what are called widgets where you can actually pull the reviews off of our website and embed them onto yours. You can add social media, like things like that you can add to it. So think like LPs are landing on your page. What do you want them to see, right? And the reason why we created that is because we found that when LPs have to go to external sources to find information, there's a high chance of losing them. And so okay, they're already on their page, give them more things to engage with and get in, your funnel faster if they want to.
Yeah.
And the next tier is our visibility tier. And so what that is it's pretty much like on every single GP profile, there are like recommendation algorithms with meaning like, hey, here are other GPs with similar asset class to you. Or hey, here are GPs that people also viewed. In that visibility tier, those algorithms actually come off their profile and they would get like a weighted prioritization in algorithms on other profiles.
Interesting.
That's cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so then it ends up being a business that you're selling the GP for visibility, but the review end and how the LP, the whole review side stays neutral. But then it's like, okay, even if you have a bunch of 1-star reviews, the GP could still be paying to have a nice, pretty picture with all their latest info.
Yeah, and subscribe. In a sense.
I mean, for sure. Like, do I ever expect that to happen? Probably not. I've actually kind of like, people start getting beat up on the site and we've got a few of them. They really don't like me. But if people wanted to pay to get more visibility to their bad reviews, that's fine with me,
Yeah, you'll take their subscrition.
When as the guy that is kind of head of acquisitions and running around, and then I've always been, we wore a lot of hats, as you can imagine, starting the company. But like I get put up against other GPs all the time. Like, oh, this guy's do this and this guy's do that. And it's like, okay, but you got to look at the properties to know. And then, because I know from doing it, it is hard to generate like 8, 9, 10% cash on cash. Like, so like there's ways where I just hear this stuff and I'm like, you guys got to look into the properties because something is just off for me, and or like they're buying really deep tertiary stuff, like where the in-place cap rate and the basis is insane, but you're also in sketchy markets. So like I see that side of it all the time to where I think it's good that you're bringing light to everything.
Yeah.
Because like we would like to be the ones in bright daylight providing really great honorable returns, but they're not like they're not like crazy, right? Like we've hit some good ones, but like, my God, like some of these returns that people say that they're achieving in different areas, I'm like, I don't know. Something seems a little off.
Yeah.
So
the asset quality is definitely different.
I mean, there's just a lot of noise in the industry. I got
Yeah.
overview in syndicators. That's not just mobile home parks or that's everywhere. So I think it's really cool. I think it's cool that you saw it. I can't believe there isn't something. So good for you to act.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why we're doing the podcast is we want to raise awareness on mobile home park and manufactured home community investments. There's nobody out there on the internet talking about it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're like, all right, we got to start a show. We got to start getting some context out there that it's a great industry. There's a few people. Have you done impact communities? Frank and Dave, they had a big educational thing. I was on their podcast. You have to look them up. They're kind of phasing out now. But we've purchased some deals from them over the years, and
nice.
They're kind of some early mentors of ours in the space. We learned some management tips and tricks from them, and there's people in the space doing it, but it's mostly institutional equity now. So there's only a handful of smaller, GP groups that are doing it.
Yeah. Well, I still hear from like retail LPs that are just really driving towards the mobile home park and the self-storage. I mean, I think based on what I'm hearing, a lot more people are moving away from multifamily into these more, operational real estate assets. You know what I mean? And so, I would expect that to be growing for sure.
Cool. Well, Pat, thanks for coming on the show. We have to end with, what's your path? We think that all trails lead to the need for cash flow. So you got into real estate. So what's your trajectory with this company? And then what are you probably going to go into and invest in for passive cash flow?
Got a lot of GP options.
I know. You're going to become the who's who of GP knowledge.
It's so funny. I always make a joke when I built this because I needed it, but now I'll say like, all right, did I actually build myself out of an investment vehicle? Like, would people think it's a conflict of interest if I invested with one of these GPs? Like, is there something like, oh yeah, do they have a GP? Pat invested with them. So I've been like staying far away, but I actually said it to my wife this morning. I was like, I could probably see more than most people see on a daily basis. I do get over that mental hump. So right now, like my path, it's strictly this, man. It is strictly invest clearly. Like the only thing I'm thinking about is the next review. Like that's the only thing I think about on a daily basis. And then at some point I'll get back into real estate. But right now it's like, this is my baby in life. I can only think about growing this thing and nothing else, honestly.
I totally get it. From an entrepreneur perspective, we totally get it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we wish you the best. And, maybe you just put a disclosure in there that like, hey, Pat does invest with some of these GPs that are reviewed and this is not investment advice and I'm sure there's some way to do it.
Yeah, there's a way around that. You just add an asterisk at the bottom.
Yeah. Either way, when I write a review, there's definitely never going to be another Pasquale Z. So that'll probably be pretty obvious too, We'll see. That's good.
Well, Pat, thanks. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on, man. And good to meet you. And we wish you the best as you go forward and you're growing your company.
Cheers, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you both. This was a lot of fun. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Cool.
Talk
Take care.
Have a Merry Christmas.